I've had a chance to talk with a number of insiders in regards to Lucid, and they are dead. I can tell you why, and I will, and that's what we're going to do, so let's just do it. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. Peter. I know you're watching this, so please hear me when I tell you what's widely known inside the industry. I know you like to insulate yourself from a lot of it. You don't like to allow coverage. You don't like to participate in coverage, and I get that. I wouldn't either if I was in your situation. The word is getting out. You got some serious problems, and you need to get your house in order. So here's what's going on. If you look back at Q1, you'll see that there are a number of deliveries that didn't happen. They kept scaling back their production guidance and kept missing it. And in Q1, they only produced 2,400 cars and sold 800 fewer, 700 fewer, 900? I don't remember. It was a lot. I'll put it up on the screen. They sold a lot less. At the end of 2022, they said that they still had 28,000 reservations. So what's going on? I had a chance to talk with someone at Lucid, and I asked them, why are there so many sitting on the lots? And he said, because those deliveries, those reservations, are not pulling the trigger. So that 28,000 number you see, you would expect it to shrink, but it's not shrinking because they're not taking them off the books. Those are the same reservations. The people who are not buying the cars are still counted as future customers, even though they're not customers today. Even with inventory sitting on the lot, there's just no customers for the cars that they're building at the prices at which they are selling them. 130,000 is a lot of money. Now, they apparently have cars under that price. Not many, apparently. 130,000 plus gets you a lot in EVs today. You could get a Model S, a Plaid, really. You could get a Porsche Taycan or a Taycan GT or a Mercedes. There are some really great cars in that price range, and the Tesla's faster, quicker anyway. The Taycan is certainly sexier, more refined, better around the track. The Mercedes is probably more luxurious. It's at least as luxurious. And all of those have warranties that are actually going to work. You will get your car fixed if something goes wrong with it. So that's just one aspect. The next one is something I heard from a Lucid employee who understands repairs and the problems with them. They're not designed for failure. So if you and I go out and decide we're going to build the best electric go-kart for racing, we're going to build it in a way that works just for us. If it overheats a little, we can put a gauge and keep an eye on it. Customers aren't going to want to do that. But we can engineer it so that to optimize just performance. So Lucid has a pedigree in Formula E racing. They build race cars. Race cars are optimized for performance, period. Full stop. It doesn't matter how difficult it is to fix something, because no matter how much work it is, it's less important than the performance. It doesn't matter how short the life is, as long as it performs. It looks like some of the better performance we've seen out of Lucid might simply be the result of uncorking. Now, older Teslas you may have seen had more performance than they let on. And over time, some of it was uncorked. There were over-the-air updates where Tesla would just tell you, oh, by the way, your car is slightly faster now. We ran the numbers and found that at the higher speeds, it's not breaking down. You got the higher speed now. You got the better performance. And you can uncork that from day one and just know that you're going to have some failures. It's fine. But if you and I want to make that go-kart, and somebody comes along and says, look, I love it. It's so fast. It's so great. Will you mass produce it? We'd say, great. But then we realize a lot of the design elements that were critical in getting performance are terrible when it comes to designing for failure. How easy is it to replace things? So one example was, if your front motor on your Lucid fails at speed, and by at speed I mean over 5 to 8 miles an hour, It's a permanent magnet. So it will tear itself apart inside, it'll spark, it'll arc, and it'll short circuit. Rather than just having some heavy-duty fuses that blow, that short goes to the battery management system and it continues back to the battery, which it also destroys. So if you lose the front motor on a Tesla, what you get is a new front motor, which is, $4,000-ish, depending on the model. If the front motor goes out on your Lucid, you need a new front motor, new BMS, new battery. That's a $75,000 repair. Now, it's under warranty, so if it does happen, what do you care? Well, you should care because it's not going to be under warranty forever, and the company's not going to be around forever if they start failing in any kind of numbers. So what are you doing? What are you doing? And for that matter, if your BMS goes out, it's mounted to the firewall with no way to get to it for service. If you need to replace the BMS, you have to take the whole front of the car off, practically. You have to take out the front motor. You have to take off the front bumper. You got to take it all out. It is a huge undertaking. If it doesn't fail, it doesn't matter. But there will be failures, and you don't know when the failure will be yours. So then you've got something less critical, the camera up on the fender. If that goes out on your Tesla, you contact service through the app. They send a mobile tech out who unlocks it themselves, replaces it, and from arrival to departure, 20 minutes. They just undo it, clip it in, plug it back in, and away you go. No problem. When you get in the car, that camera's not configured, but it configures itself as you drive. Might take about 20 minutes, might take about 20 miles, but it will configure itself. If the same camera goes out in your Lucid, you have to take it to a shop, which could be hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and it takes them 8 hours because they have to replace it, and then they have to recalibrate all the cameras and all the sensors all the way around on perfectly flat, perfectly level ground. It is not something that can be done in the field because it was designed all wrong. They can't fix it. You got to do all new software, and that software is really, really hard to write. So this is great for performance, but terrible for a car you wish to drive 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles. A small failure would be catastrophic. If your front motor goes out, the car goes in the trash. If that camera goes out, it's still going to be outrageously expensive and with a company that may not even be around to service. Now, there will be third-party providers taking care of these things, addressing them in the future, I am sure, just like there are now. There are companies that only service electric cars. But it's going to cost you, man. It's really going to cost you. Service on a original Tesla Roadster is outrageously expensive. People fly their cars in to get serviced, to get things like the original battery pack replaced, because it's no longer in production. It might as well be from a company that no longer exists, which is Lucid at some point very soon if things don't change around in a tremendous hurry. They've got some really incompetent people working there. Now, their engineers are brilliant at what they're told to do. Eking performance out is not easy. But eking performance out isn't enough. You also have to have a car that will survive. And the company is a mess. One of the suppliers I talked with said that what they do is they use some system that manages all the orders from all the suppliers. So all the car companies put orders into this system, and all the suppliers pull the orders out. And you can only see your orders and your suppliers and whatever. The orders being done at Lucid look like they're being handled, I would aspire to say, by a summer intern, but they're not. They look like they're being handled by the wrong department. See, the way it works is you place orders, but before that you place projections. You say, I think in 6 months, we're going to be needing this many of this bracket or this, light or this assembly or this floor mat, whatever it is. And you put out those projections and you say, these are what they're going to be. And each week or each time you update it, each day, I'm not sure how often they update, but it's regularly, maybe once a week. When they upload to that system, it costs by how many kilobytes the order is. So it's all crunched down into a form that only you can read because it's your job and you know how to read it. And it says, here's the order and here's our projections. And Lucid pays based on the kilobyte and the supplier pays based on the kilobyte. Both of them pay to use whatever system that is. And without going into too much detail, Lucid's orders are a mess. They should address that. It has, boy, I don't want to tell too much because I don't want to get anyone. I don't wish to identify the person who helped me, who showed me their orders. But they're a mess. There's data on there that shouldn't be on there. There's orders, there's projections for orders in the past. So they're uploading order forms that are 5-10 times bigger than they should be and paying per kilobyte, which is great because that's one way. It's a small cash burn problem, but the suppliers are paying for it too. They're running very limited parts and they're not getting what they need. What they're doing is they're paying too much to view the orders. That's a good way to upset your suppliers. So they got old, dead projections for internal data. Now I can tell you from what the supplier is seeing, it looks like they're not going to hit the 10,000 cars built this year that they were expecting. In the second half, they're only looking to build between 2,600 and 5,200 cars. And, the high end would get them there. But for a number of parts, they're just not projecting enough orders to get them there. So 10,000, I guess it's possible. But how many do you need to build when you're not selling them? We'll get the new numbers in a matter of days. So what all this mismanagement means, the other thing they love to do is change part numbers. The same part can have different numbers with no changes to the design specs. Just change the part number. Now, I don't know if they're doing that to try and confuse people who could see more, who could see a bigger picture and use it to. I don't think anyone cares about that. I don't know if that person exists. I don't know who would be able to do that. But I imagine all those people are, under NDA and all that. So I don't know why they would do it, apart from perhaps incompetence, maybe. I don't see a business rationale behind it because other part numbers don't change. So I think I am able to tell you with accuracy that 110 to 200 cars a week is all they plan to build for the rest of the year. So what this leads to is confusion among the suppliers. What this leads to, this whole ordering incompetence situation, sorry, Peter, what it leads to is in their warehouse, they have too many of some parts. They just have too many of them. They got too many in. See, when your projections get too close, they sometimes just convert to orders unless you specify otherwise. So they've got too many of some parts and none at all of others. And even within their own warehouse, with the parts having all different names, I don't even know how you manage that. I hope digitally, I hope their warehouse manager is more proficient at their job than whoever it is that places the orders. It's very strange. So it's very frustrating. I'd like to see Lucid succeed. I hope their Gravity, the new SUV, is as far along as they say. I hope it has been designed a little better, but my confidence is approaching zero. I haven't seen anything that would indicate that they are close to entering production, even trial production, and they're saying 2024. Even with the recent influx of Saudi cash, which was very dilutive, I'm just not sure that they're going to make it that far. And when they begin ramping, the cost is going to be astronomical. They got cars on the lot, man. They're just sitting there, baking in the hot Arizona sun, getting a tan. They're not moving. So Lucid is doomed. They're genuinely in a real pickle. So what did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Leave it all in the comments. You know, if you want to help me out, I'd love it. You can become a member on Patreon. You can become a member on YouTube. And with that said, you know, stay tuned, stay juicy. Can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.